So living in London, you don't often get to say that you live where one of the big horror franchises was born and where one of the biggest, most iconic horror characters was created. And unlike Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, those films set in American Burbia, we do have our own film that was based here in London, and that's Hellraiser. And yeah, as much as the film was supposed to be set in America, it's very, very clearly obvious as you watch it that it's not. So today we're here to look at the 1986 filming locations for Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Tony, the latest Samuelson venture, is your brainchild. What are you building here exactly?
Well, I don't think we're building anything. We're really adapting a whole crowd of old buildings, which we came by more or less by accident when we bought the premises next door to house our lighting company.
What are you adapting them for?
Well, they're studios, but they're the kind of studios that are most practical for the production of television commercials. They're not studios in the tradition of Pinewood or Shepperton or Elstree.
So we start today's tour at 100 Cricklewood Lane. So as you can see, this is now a David Lloyd gym. But back in the 80s when Hellraiser was made, back in 1987, this was the site of the Cricklewood Production Village. So Cricklewood Production Village was a facility opened, I believe, in the 60s, 70s, and it was designed like a traditional British village. So it had a duck pond, little shops, it had a village green, and it had a pub called the Magic Hour, the sort of local pub for the people working there. And this is actually, although most of the film was filmed on location, which we'll see shortly, a lot of the special effects sequences were filmed at the production village here. And you remember there's that amazing scene where Frank gets kind of reanimated with blood, and there's that amazing sequence of his body kind of melding together. That was all filmed here. But like I said, most of the filming was done on location at a house in Dollis Hill. So we'll be going there shortly. But yeah, this was the site of Cricklewood Production Village, which was bulldozed in the early 2000s. So in the movie, you'll remember Kirsty, she has some sort of altercation in the house and she sort of leaves in a bit of a daze, and she walks down a street, an American street in the film, and she encounters a sort of couple of nuns. So in that scene, you'll sort of see her walking down here. So all of this area here, this fence was an open fence, and all these houses weren't here. This is an sort of open tarmac area. And there's some houses up about which you can kind of still see, albeit they're now covered up by kind of this stuff. But this is the street. This is actually Claremont Road in Cricklewood, which kind of go down this way to the station, towards where we've come from. And yeah, in the film, you remember the very judgmental nuns pass by Kirsty here. And this is actually quite hard to place. It took me a while to actually find out where this was done. But if you look down the road here, there's a couple of little reference points. So we look at this tree here in the middle of the frame that's sort of bent over towards the fence. Now that's something you can see in the original, and that's how we know we're in the right place. And then the housing behind that, sort of the 1930s house to the tree to the left, it's just another little reference point. So this looks really different now. But yeah, this is where Kirsty sort of runs away about halfway through the film. So in my videos, I do like to either go back to locations that have changed quite a lot since the movie was filmed, or even just have a quick look at some locations that no longer exist or has actually, have been demolished since the film was made. So the first one was Cricklewood Station. So this doesn't look too different. You'll just notice that this lovely Victorian brickwork you see in the original film has now been replaced by this sort of plastic cladding. But yeah, looking around the station, you can kind of see that everything pretty much matches up, and so Kirsty and Steve walk down the stairs here after they've got their train and end up sharing a kiss at the end of platform 4 here. And then at one point in the movie, we see Kirsty just kind of out walking, and this is sort of inexplicably at the other end of London. This is actually in the Royal Victoria Dock, sort of part of the Docklands complex. Very different now. As you see in this picture, you can see the O2 in the background, and it's kind of a much more kind of flush area with nice apartments. It used to be a little rougher, more sort of factories, and you can see sort of the industrial cranes and things in the background. But yeah, otherwise the cranes are still there. It looks pretty similar, and you can see the Blackwall power station here just over Kirsty's shoulder, which has also now been demolished. And then for the climax of the film, there's this very sort of odd scene where the homeless guy that's been stalking Kirsty throughout the film steals the box and catches fire. Now, this is a bit indeterminate. We don't really know where this is. There is some discussion online that this is actually in Staples Corner, which is a really busy, very ugly road junction up in North London near Cricklewood where the film was made. And actually the flyover that you see behind Kirsty and Steve matches up. From this footage here, we can kind of see that that's what the area looks like. I think that the main difficulty with Staples Corner is that in 1992, there were a wave of bombings in London actually, and Staples Corner was one of those areas where the IRA did plant a bomb and caused quite significant damage. So the likelihood of the buildings and the area looking the same as they were in the film is probably very unlikely. And as for the wine bar where Julia sort of starts meeting men to regenerate Uncle Frank, I'm really stuck. I have no idea where that was filmed. I don't know if it's a studio or a location, but I can't find anything about it. So if anyone does know, do let me know, because I'd love to go back there. But anyway, I know you're waiting for the main event, which is the house, so let's go there now.
Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
Okay, so this is really cool. This is very exciting. We are now here at the original Hellraiser house. So the house is here behind me. This is 187 Dollis Hill Lane in North London. And if you're a fan of the film, you'll probably be kind of pointing out the obvious. This looks absolutely nothing like it did back in 1986 when they filmed the movie. So I understand when they found the house, it was very, very run down, very dilapidated, which was great for the film. Out there to kind of film the outside, but they also used the inside for all the interiors as well. So there was very minimal sets in the movie. As we said earlier, they only used the production village for sort of special effects. But in here, pretty much all the inside shots you see are from the film. So you'll see at the top, for example, they actually have some of the little kind of elements that were still in the original building. There's a little sort of T-shaped bit at the top, sort of bricks, and then this sort of curved bit across the top of the windows. And again, in the movie, that was one long window. That's the attic where Frank transformed, and a lot of the kind of the gory stuff happens in the movie. And yeah, and luckily we're here today and the gate is open. So we were able to just to kind of walk down to the driveway and look at the original door. And this is really cool. I don't think this is still here, but the original Hillcrest stained glass window is still above the door, as you can see here. So the brickwork on the side is pretty much the same. They've just changed a lot. They've added a bit to the side. It's now converted into a sort of group of different flats. So the inside is nothing like this anymore, like it was from the film. But yeah, this is the original house from Hellraiser, just looking a lot less scary than it did back then. So what's really quirky about the Hellraiser, so the first Hellraiser movie was, it was filmed in Britain and the original film was supposed to be British. There was no suggestion it was going to be America. And then because the film, I think, came out better than the producers are expecting, they actually asked Clive Barker to redub a lot of the film into American. So a lot of the characters have very thick American accents, but actually they were all British actors. Which is funny, actually. I mean, if you look at the film and you look close enough, you'll see that it's absolutely not America. And one of the best examples of this is if you see in the film that they arrive at the house for the first time, and you can kind of see a reverse shot of the house. So behind me, you can see this red brick archway, I believe, at number 282. Now, these kind of 1930s semi-detached houses are so British, and it's so unmistakably not America that watching the film now, you absolutely kind of know you're in North London. But that's why they did it. And I believe the film in the UK made about $1 million. It made about $15 million in the US, so probably not a bad investment of money. But it is quite funny now when you watch it back, because they don't even mention where it is. It's just America.